very lucky to have a very special guest speaker today, and his name is Mark Alan Hewit, and he's a leading architect and architectural historian, and he's an expert on Harry Lindeberg, who is the architect of this house. So we'd like to introduce him.
Thank you. It's delightful to be here. I've driven by the house many times, but have not been able to see it. This is a really outstanding example of the work of Harry Lindeberg, and I'll tell you a little about him. Lindeberg was born in 1879-1880 in the town of Bergen, New Jersey, which is actually where Jersey City is now. It was one of the earliest towns in New Jersey, founded by the Dutch. And Lindeberg was a Swedish immigrant. His father had come from Sweden probably just around the middle of the 19th century. He changed his name from Harry, H-A-R-R-Y, to H-A-R-R-I-E to give it a little bit more elegance. And Lindeberg was a man who lived a sort of elegant life. He married 3 times, each wife richer than the last, and did quite well as a society architect. By his death in 1959, Vanity Fair magazine had called him the leading architect for wealthy people in the United States. He trained. We don't know too much about his early life. We think he went to school in Jersey City. We don't know if he went to any kind of architectural school. We first find him in the offices of McKim, Mead & White, the famous American architecture firm, did Penn Station in New York, and many other great buildings. In about 1900, when he is the assistant to the famous Stanford White on a very important house called the James Breeze House in Southampton, still standing today, a wonderful colonial revival house, which is in Sam White's new book on Stanford White. I recommend it if you don't have it. And he is really learning from the master, one of the great American architects. And when White is killed, as you know, on the roof of Madison Square Garden by a jealous lover in 1906, the following year, Harry Lindeberg teams up with another employee at the firm, a man named Louis Colt Albro, who is himself a little bit better connected with Lindeberg, and they go into partnership for about 6-7 years. And they start their work here in New Jersey, actually. There's some early houses, one of which I've restored in Short Hills, New Jersey. There are 2 or 3 of them that are by Albro and Lindeberg. They also work in the Hamptons, so there are about 2 or 3 Albro and Lindeberg houses in East Hampton. They're relatively modest by the scale of the house that we're in now. They're more or less summer cottages, and we don't really know why Lindeberg becomes so attracted to English sort of arts and crafts or cottagey English sources. But early on, he seems to be interested in doing houses that have a more rustic English feel, not so much the classical houses of McKim, Mead & White. And early on, he is associated with very large, steeply pitched roofs, sometimes that have the feeling of a thatch, an eave to them. And these roofs are done sometimes in what we call drunken shakes, the shakes that kind of wobble down the roof. Now, some of these I think are just falling off, but there's actually a style of slates. I'm sorry, slate roofs. But eventually, this roof type becomes known as the Lindeberg roof, the steeply pitched roof. So he is in fact associated with kind of the invention of a special roof type. He also designs the house of James Stillman, the founder of National City Bank, or what we know as Citibank today, near the Rockefellers' property in Tarrytown, New York. So those houses get him started. In about around World War I, Lindeberg actually is a flyer. He goes to Europe as an airman, basically, comes back. And after the war, he splits from Albro and he starts his own firm. And that's when he really takes off, probably between about 1919 and 1930, or the Depression. He designs houses for really a who's who of Americans. People like Frederick Patterson, who is the National Cash Register president, Amelita Galli-Curci, the Metropolitan Opera star, the Vanderbilts. He does a couple of houses for Vanderbilt Relations. Seth Thomas of Seth Thomas Clock fame, whose house I just worked on for the Kirby family in Morris County, was designed by Lindeberg during this time. Harry Knight of St. Louis, who was a very, very well-known St. Louis investor. The area of Houston, which is called Shady Side, all of the founders of Humble Oil, that's how you say it, I think, in Houston, the Farish family, a number of the great oil magnates of Houston actually hired him to do a whole enclave of houses in Houston. And then here in New Jersey, one of his best houses, which alas was destroyed in the fire, Paul Moore, the father of Bishop Moore of New York City, a famous Morris County millionaire. That house, also a Lindeberg house. So all told, if you look at the Lindeberg monograph that I wrote the introduction for, you'll see a fabulous array of country estates for really the top drawer of American society. And he worked really all over the United States. He did the on Wednesday Club in Chicago, a number of houses for the Armour family in Chicago. Virtually any town that had high society, Lindeberg did at least one house. Here in New Jersey, where he was actually born, we have a pretty good representation. This house, of course, here in Monmouth County. We have one in Bergen County that unfortunately is now apartments that I've worked a little bit on. Morris County, as I said, probably has half a dozen Lindeberg houses. So really a pretty good smattering of his work throughout the state of New Jersey. And then in New York City, he did a number of apartments as well as townhouses, although the country house was really his forte. And then there are a number of them on Long Island. In fact, his own house is right on the border of the Piping Rock Club, if you know where that is, on the Gold Coast of Long Island. So his houses are well represented throughout the United States. One of the great things about Lindeberg houses, in addition to their comfort and their elegance, is that I think people recognize that this understated quality, and it really is some people call it stripped quality, the various subtleties of these houses appear to have really resonated with owners over the years. And although this house, I guess, lost a wing, I found in my travels that Lindeberg's buildings have in fact escaped the wrecking ball. I think mainly because people find them so adaptable to their taste today. They're not over the top. They're comfortable houses. They're well proportioned. He loved talking about proportion and scale. They have these marvelous details like the peacock grill there by Oscar Bach. He worked with very fine craftsmen, and the houses just have a sense of understatement and elegance that appears to have been something that people have valued over the years. And I think they're very much the kind of houses that people with taste would like to live in today. So we're very fortunate. And Mrs. Mullerhern, I think I pronounced your name correctly, has gone the extra mile in saving this house, and it looks to be a house that's going to last hopefully another century. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak, and good luck with your work here. Thank you.